Hello, everyone. Welcome to this interview that we'll be doing with Saúl Hernández, diplomat residence for the Southern region. Saúl Hernández is the diplomat in residence for the Southern region, which represents Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee, and recruits students in the most diverse of fashions for student programming opportunities for the Department of State. Saúl has had an amazing career that has spanned almost 20 years with the Department of State. Before joining the Southern region as our diplomat in residence, Saúl has had overseas assignments in Bogota, Prague, the Republic of Georgia, and in Peru. He's also served 3 assignments in Washington, D.C. Saúl, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, Luka.
Questions. Thank you so much for joining us. Just a few questions about your experiences in the Foreign Service for students that are possibly considering a career in the Department of State one day.
Sure. Happy to answer your questions and talk to your audiences about opportunities that we offer in U.S. diplomacy.
Awesome. Well, my first question is a little simple. I just kind of want to get to know what a typical day looks like for you in your current role in the State Department, and maybe how that differs from some jobs you've had in the past in the State Department.
Thank you for the question, Luka. So my job is to work as the regional recruiter for the U.S. Department of State and let people know about all the opportunities that we have. We have opportunities for people across majors of study, across years of study, whether you're a student or a mid-career professional. And so I and 16 of my colleagues are located across the country, and we let people know about these opportunities. We direct people to a website, careers.state.gov, which provides detailed information about the opportunities that we offer. These include student programs. So this is programs like internships and fellowships, as well as the career opportunities that we offer. And as I said, we're not just looking for people across one particular type of major. The work of diplomacy requires all sorts of expertise: information technology, law enforcement, healthcare. And so we're really looking for a diverse pool of talent and a diverse backgrounds of people so that we can build a workforce that looks like the America that we represent. So I invite people to visit our careers.state.gov website. There is a link there that is called Connect with a Diplomat. You can find the regions that we cover, and you can connect with me or one of my colleagues. We also invite people to join our talent network. That allows you to express interest in the different opportunities that we offer. That way we can stay in touch with you.
Awesome. Could you also talk a little bit about your journey to the State Department, from being a student to where you are now, almost 20 years later in the State Department? Have there been any sorts of pivotal experiences that have maybe shaped your career path? And also, could you talk a little bit about some programs that you recommend students apply for now that you've had so much experience?
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that question, because when I was an undergraduate, I really didn't know that the U.S. Department of State offered opportunities for people. So for me, I joined as a mid-career professional. I studied political science in university, and then actually worked in information technology for almost 8 years. And when I was at a college reunion, I was speaking with a friend who told me that his girlfriend, who's now his wife, was a Foreign Service officer, and she had served in Moscow, she'd served in Geneva, she had learned foreign languages, and she was working on, at the time, Uzbek policy in Washington, D.C. I had grown up as a military dependent. My father had served in the U.S. Army, so I'd seen him put on a uniform for 20 years, and I'd seen all of my parents, all of my friends' parents also putting on a uniform. So I thought that public service was something that was very important. And when I learned also about this opportunity to travel around the world and learn new languages, that also spoke to me. I had grown up speaking Spanish as a child, and had the opportunity to live in Germany when my father was stationed there for 4 years. And my parents and my brother and I really, really loved that experience. We didn't speak German when we got there. We got to learn a little bit of the language and learn a little bit about the culture. So really a career in the Department of State, and specifically in the Foreign Service, really, really spoke to me. So a big part of what I like to do in this role is really go out and speak to students and talk to mid-career professionals about the fact that these opportunities exist. And so Luka, you asked a little bit about the programs that students can participate in. We offer an unpaid internship, the virtual student federal service that students can participate in. And even though it's unpaid, they can do so without having to disrupt their studies and do that part-time. Congress has provided funding for us to pay for our full-time in-person internships. So that's the student internship program that we offer in the spring, in the summer, and in the fall. And the U.S. Foreign Service Internship Program, that is a 2-summer program that students can apply to in their sophomore or their junior years. And we also offer fellowships for people who are interested in a career in the Department of State. And the fellowships will provide funding for master's study. They'll provide a stipend. 4 of our internships will also provide 2 summer internships. And in return for becoming a fellow, the participants sign a contract that basically says that they will serve in the Department of State for a certain amount of time. So these are excellent opportunities for students who might be looking for a career in diplomacy. And again, all of that is on our careers.state.gov page on the internships and fellowships section of our website. And I really, really encourage students who might be interested to reach out to your diplomat in residence and to visit our website and apply to these opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about your career. Can you talk to us a little bit about an assignment that you found to be really impactful, maybe even a project that you've worked on during your time at the State Department? And I'm curious as to how you found that specific project or assignment to contribute to the overall goals of the State Department for students that are just trying to get a better sense of what a career in the State Department could actually look like for them.
Absolutely. And I think the example that I can think and discuss right now is one that will be very familiar to most people. In 2020, at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a lot of uncertainty all over the world about what that was going to mean. And I think if people look back and remember what happened at the time, there were a lot of travel restrictions that were placed worldwide that were potentially meaning that there were challenges for people who might want to be returning to their homes. And as the pandemic spread, there was, of course, a lot of concern. People were getting sick, and people were dying from the disease. And so one of the things that happened when I was in Peru was that we really focused on 2 missions. One was the services that we could provide to American citizens to allow them to return back to the United States if they wish to do so, and providing assistance to the Peruvian government and the Peruvian people to help respond to COVID-19. So both of those missions were quite challenging because at the time, all intra-city travel in Peru had been restricted and international travel was actually restricted. So the embassy actually had to work with the Peruvian government and had to work around finding ways to ensure that we followed the protocols that the Peruvian government had in place, while also helping Americans who wanted to get home to be able to do so. So that essentially meant that we had to stand up an airline at the embassy, essentially, and contract with different providers to be able to get buses from different parts of the country, get people to Lima, and then essentially build an operation that would allow us to receive people at the embassy, get their suitcases, get everyone a face mask so that when they were getting onto the plane, that they could have some protection for themselves and for the passengers around them. And our embassy actually wound up repatriating over 13,000 U.S. citizens over the span of several months, more than any other mission around the world. And at the same time, we were also thinking about how we could help the Peruvian government. So that involved an effort while I was assigned to Embassy Lima that ultimately was about $20 million worth of humanitarian assistance. And that ranged from actually providing US-made personal protective equipment to the Peruvian people. It involved contributions from corporations. So there were airlines that actually provided transportation of oxygen cylinders, which were in high demand in Peru as well. We had contact tracing. There was a mobile testing lab for COVID-19. There were isolation units that could be attached to helicopters so that someone who was sick and needed to be brought to a hospital could be brought safely while not infecting others. And we were even providing ventilators for people who were in ICUs and needed to get through that crisis. So you see within those two missions that we were really focused on the primary missions of the U.S. Department of State, which is to assist Americans in need when they were abroad, and we were able to do that. And we were also, of course, able to assist a vital partner in their time of need and assist the Peruvian people. So it's one of the moments in my career that I'm most proud of. It was quite a bit of work, but really an opportunity for us as the U.S. government and for our embassy community to really pull together and achieve this mission.
Yeah, wow, it's really, really amazing work. There must have been lots of responsibilities and challenges obviously associated with that kind of work, especially I'm sure during the pandemic. How were you able to balance your workload, maybe even in that specific example, with your personal life? I'm sure that's a question that is in the minds of lots of people that are considering work in the State Department. Is what does that balance look like? And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit to that.
Absolutely. And to think about that example specifically, when you were working as a diplomat abroad, I do tell people that you should think about it as a job that might be a 24/7 job in many circumstances, because when a crisis like this happens, you can't just turn off your TV and say, well, I hope that somebody figures out some way to solve this crisis. You're going to be a part of the crisis response. So in that particular situation, I think I worked for 34 straight days as we were kind of setting the state of how we were going to respond over the span of multiple months to the crisis. So really at the beginning, it was about making sure that we had enough people to be able to respond to the crisis. And so we really quickly learned that we didn't have enough people at the embassy to be able to sustain this mission without assistance. And so we got help from our colleagues in Washington, D.C., and we set up essentially sort of a duty roster so that certain people would help us at certain times of the day. We eventually realized, okay, we can, be responsive from about 8 a.m. in the morning to about, 10 p.m. in the evening, and let the American public that was in Peru know, okay, we are working on your issue, and if we're not able to get to you at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning, we'll have regular hours when we're working with you. There was a point at which I said, okay, I will need to take some time to to sort of reset and take a break. So there are definite mechanisms that you have to think about when you're in a crisis mode to make sure that not only you, but your colleagues and your family are going to be able to sustain a long-term effort to carry out U.S. policy. But we do have several mechanisms in place to also assist us. So we get vacation days, and as you progress along in your career, the amount of hours that you accrue for vacation days does increase. For those of us who serve in the Foreign Service and serve abroad, for every month that we serve abroad, we get 1 day that is called home leave, and that's a separate leave bank. So when we're done with our assignment abroad, we go back to the United States, and we have a minimum of 17 work days where we're expected to just be able to take some time, readjust to life in the United States, maybe learn about things that have changed in the time that we were away. And of course, as federal employees, we are eligible for many other federal benefits. So the Family Medical Leave Act, the Paid Parental Leave Act that is also in place. So all of these mechanisms are there to ensure that we're able to take time off and rest and recover. And in fact, in many of our assignments abroad, if we're serving in a place that's considered to be a high danger or high hardship post, we can also get rest and recuperation tickets that would allow us to fly back either to the United States, or if there's a place that is a nice place to visit that the same amount or less than traveling to the United States, we can travel to those locations as well. So those are all benefits. And of course, the rest of the time, when you're living in different parts of the world. Of course, there's beautiful places often in the country where you're living, or sometimes just a short flight away that's much harder to get to from the United States. So I have some wonderful memories of vacations that I've taken with my family, and that friends and family have also been able to join me in.
Well, that's awesome. That's great. I want to transition a little bit to talk about your work that you do with students primarily. And I'm wondering, for students that are aspiring to a career in foreign affairs, are there maybe skills or experiences that in your many years working as a Foreign Service officer, you would recommend that they focus on developing during their academic years before eventual entry into the Foreign Service?
Absolutely. So to work in the Foreign Service, we look for 11 dimensions that are described on our careers.state.gov website. And they include the ability to communicate effectively in writing and orally. They include the ability to be able to analyze information and present it to others, the ability to lead, the ability to work well with others, and the ability to adapt to different cultures. So those are skills that you can really develop in your academic studies. There are skills that you can develop in your community or on campus, or during your summer breaks. It's not necessarily required that you have studied abroad or that you speak a foreign language. We're actually going to evaluate a candidate based on those 11 dimensions primarily. So I would say that any opportunity that you can avail yourself to be in a leadership role, to be involved in your community, to take courses that are really going to broaden your skill set, and the ability to be able to do challenging projects, and those could take any number of forms, but really to think about ways that you can develop yourself as an individual, and then really be able to present yourself when you go through the selection process to be either a Foreign Service specialist or a Foreign Service officer, and show that you have the maturity, the leadership, and the communication skills to help you succeed in this career.
Yeah, excellent. And for students that maybe want to broaden their global perspective, so speaking to opportunities like study abroad and things like that, that maybe just want to stay more informed about international affairs, what advice would you have for them if they haven't had the chance to maybe study abroad or really like travel extensively throughout their life? What can students like that do?
Sure. So one of the things that I always emphasize to students is to talk to their career services staff and to their faculty if they are interested in study abroad opportunities. And the Department of State offers all sorts of study abroad opportunities. I think we have 90 exchange programs. Some of them are, of course, for foreign visitors to come to the United States, but we also have many opportunities for U.S. citizens to go abroad. And that includes for students who might be getting Pell Grants, like I was, to pay for their studies. And we also have study abroad scholarships for language acquisition. We have, of course, the Fulbright program that many people are very familiar with. So those opportunities exist, and I would call on students to really be informed and to know about all the different ways that if they're interested in having that experience, that there are resources available to help them make that their hope of getting that opportunity a reality. But if for some reason you don't get the opportunity to study abroad, I didn't do an internship or study abroad, it's, I think, really important for you to be an informed citizen. And so I would say visit the websites of reputable news organizations and keep yourself up to date. Of course, a university or just about any city is going to have opportunities for you to connect with people who are like-minded and interested in foreign affairs. So that might be a Model UN organization, or it might be a lecture series or seminars that are offered by faculty, or they might be offered by people who've had the opportunity to be abroad. I talked about the fact that we have foreign visitors who come to the United States on exchange programs. So we have councils of international visitors that people can volunteer in. So there are opportunities for Americans to host visiting international students or to provide opportunities for international visitors to learn more about their communities. So there are ways that you can be connected with the international community without really having to leave your hometown. So I really encourage folks who are interested in these opportunities to seek out those chances to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to end today with a conversation on community, because I know especially for the Hispanic community, this idea of community is very, very important. So I'm wondering what you found the importance of community to be within this career, within your work in the State Department, and in connection to that, how have you learned to serve your community? And how have you been able to stay stay connected to your community, even when you might have been abroad?
Absolutely. So really appreciate the question. And of course, as someone who grew up in a Mexican American household, my assignments in Colombia and my assignment in Peru, sort of 7 years out of my career, were really a great opportunity to connect culturally with people from different countries who spoke the same language, but culturally had a very different history and very different experiences than I had. And so that was really something that was very fulfilling for me. That chance to create both professional relationships as well as friendships with people in the countries that I served in, and really have just amazing memories and just good experiences overall about being able to use sort of the language and the culture that my parents handed down to me, and be able to apply it both in a professional setting and in a personal setting as well. Here in the United States, I'm so thrilled to be a U.S. diplomat and to be a Mexican American and to be a part of a workforce that is more diverse than we have been historically. And I think that that's important. I think it's important for our workforce to look like the America that we represent, and for all of the different flavors and types of Americans to be representing America abroad. And in this role, of course, I'm happy to engage with organizations such as HECFAA. I've had the opportunity to reach out and speak with students who are of Latino origin as well, and let them know that there is an opportunity for them as well, that we are looking for people across all backgrounds to serve. And of course, yeah, when you're outside of work, there are opportunities to engage with your community as well, and those help keep you grounded, and you can sort of think about all the people who have helped you get to where you are in your career, and think about ways that you can mentor and really provide support and let people know that those opportunities that they're seeking are there for the taking. And so it's really been a thrill to be in this particular role, where my job is to be able to inform and inspire people to seek a career in public service. And it might be with the Department of State, or it might be something very different. But for people to know that there are opportunities for them to really grow personally and contribute to their community and to their country.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank our viewers for listening in on this conversation today with Saúl Hernández, brought to you by HECFAA, the Hispanic and Latinx Employee Council and Foreign Affairs Agencies. If you'd like to learn more about HECFAA, please check out our Instagram, our X, and we're on LinkedIn as well. Saúl, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your insight for students. We really appreciate having you.
It was my pleasure, Luca. It was a pleasure speaking with the HECFAA community, and looking forward to continuing this conversation.
Thank you so much.
Take care, Luca. Bye-bye.